a reporter, a journalist, Albert Breer. Yes, he went to Ohio State. He's a bit bitter today, but what do you...
That was a convenient opinion, I think. He didn't mention the flag planting.
Well, what do you make of
it?
Does it bother you?
No, I think if you win the game, you have the right to do what you want to do. But that doesn't mean you get to do what you want to do without repercussion. And if you are going to dance on a logo or plant a flag, you should expect a fight. That's just what it is. Because what you are doing then is you are saying, not only did I beat you, I'm going to go ahead and disrespect you, disrespect your program.
Okay.
And I mean, to me, at least, I think that is picking a fight.
Yeah.
So if you are picking a fight, you need to be ready for a fight, Khalil Bowlings. That's the score here. You want to plant your flag, no problem. You do what you need to do, but you cannot do that without expecting repercussions. I don't know. Listening to him talk, it was almost like he had missed the whole part about planting the flag. Planting the flag is what started the fight. When you plant the flag in that rivalry, you should know what's going to happen. And I agree with the Big Ten's decision to fine both sides.
Yeah.
Because one side picked a fight, the other obliged. The other side obliged the side to pick the fight with a fight.
Why not just out? We have a picture of you at the game as you were watching the flag planting. You very, very distraught.
Was this actually during the flag planting?
Well, it looks like it was at any point in the game watching your offense. From what I could tell. But why not just ban flag planting? Because by the way, Sark in the A&M games, he got in front of his Longhorns. And he's like, "Get out of here! We're not getting involved on the road with that stuff." How about just ban it? Period in college football. How about that?
Yeah, I don't know. That'd be up to the powers that be. I think it's stupid anyway, don't you, Colin? Most of these fields are turf.
Yeah.
So what happens when you plant the flag is you jam it into the ground and then it falls over.
Yeah.
So it's it doesn't even stick there, which makes it even more stupid. So if they want to ban it, that's fine. I actually kind of like field storming. I think field storming is a good clean fun, like a college activity. You know what I mean? And as long as everybody is, everybody's not a psycho about it, that can be fine. If they wanted to ban flag planting because it's causing fights, I wouldn't have a huge problem with that.
Let me.
By the way, who's to thank for all of this is your old buddy Baker Mayfield.
Hey, he's always been a pioneer. Let me ask you. I said this. Ohio State can't be a first job. Listen, Dan Lanning has worked at Oregon. But it's a big job. I've said it reminds me of Mark Richt at Georgia, quarterback coach. You get a big brand. I think Ryan Day is fine. But there is something to be said about steps. You don't start it where you work right now and write. You go to the local paper, a bigger local paper. Then you're a secondary reporter at a big space. Then you become the columnist. There are steps to life. Is it possible that Ryan Day here, he's still figuring out how to coach? Because I don't even know what Ohio State's identity is as a program. I just know they're talented.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Look, I think a big part of that job is understanding the terms of employment, and when I was in school there, John Cooper was the coach.
Yeah.
And, I know that's a third rail name for a lot of people, but I remember thinking and I'm not from Ohio, but a lot of my family is from the Midwest and my family is Big Ten. And so I felt like I had an understanding of it. I think until you're in it, you don't really know how important the rivalry is and how you approach the rivalry is really important. Here's what I mean by that. I think every coach who's coached at Ohio State feels the pressure, but how do you approach the pressure? Do you think the pressure is a burden? Do you feel like you're a victim of the pressure? Or do you think the pressure is a privilege? And do you think being in those shoes is a privilege? And I think that can be the subtle difference sometimes. Urban, and you guys work with him. I was at the game in 2016. That was the one where Curtis Samuel, scores at the end in overtime. I think it's still the only overtime game in the history of the series. And Urban kind of falls to the ground. I watched Urban for a lot of overtime. So where we were sitting, he had kind of a clear look at him. And it looked like he was going to have a heart attack damn near the whole time. Yeah. It looked like he was about to keel over and die. And so you can't tell me that guy didn't feel the pressure. but I never heard Urban ever scuffle against the pressure or, feel uncomfortable. It was just like he viewed like that as like a privilege, right. that he was in that role. Like, yeah, it's hard, but like he viewed that as a privilege. And I sort of felt the same way with Tressel. So I love Ryan as a person, as a coach. Like, I wonder sometimes, like, do you fully embrace it? Do you fully embrace the terms of employment? Because I think the guys who've been successful at Ohio State, and obviously Ohio State's ceiling's always been higher than Michigan's for a variety of different reasons. And the pressure there's always been more intense than it is at Michigan. And the winning's been more consistent and the bar's higher on a more, like, all the evidence shows that. Are you willing to embrace all of that? And are you willing to say, you know what, these two games that we're going to play at the end of the year do matter more? Yeah. The game against Michigan, the game in the Big Ten title game, the playoff game, whatever it is, like, that's how I'm judged here. It's not by beating Iowa in the middle of October. It's not by beating Indiana. It's by beating Michigan, winning the Big Ten, and winning the national title. So I just think a huge part of, a coach's ability to succeed in that job comes down to how willing he is to embrace those things.
All right, 2 NFL things I have to get to. First, is the Bears a great job, and is there a leader in the clubhouse? I hear Marcus Freeman at Notre Dame. What do you hear?
So, like, I know a lot of people are going to look at it and say they need an offensive guru. I don't really agree with that. I think they need somebody who's going to be willing to stand up to ownership, to stand up to the front office, to really be a leader, not just of the guys in the locker room, but of the organization. I think if you look over the course of the last 15 years or so, there's something that's broken there. And they've gone back and forth from an offensive coach to a defensive coach, from a player's coach to a taskmaster. And I think in the process, you're right, they've lost like any sort of identity in who they are. So I think they need somebody to come in and establish an identity. And I think they need somebody who's going to be willing to stand up and if ownership's wrong about something, tell them, like, hey, you're doing this the wrong way. If the front office is wrong about something, tell them, like, no, we cannot do things this way. And so, like, I have my eyes on guys, and I think it's sort of similar to what Detroit needed, So, Ben Johnson is a name that's been, thrown around there for over a year. And I think at one point he really wanted that job. I'm not sure if that's the case as much anymore. But I'd look at a Bill Belichick. I'd look at a Mike Vrabel. I'd look at, if you're, want an assistant to turn him into a head coach like an Aaron Glenn, who's been in Dan Campbell's program, and who is a former player. I just think they need a really strong personality who has an idea of the identity he wants to establish, who's going to stick to that identity. I think one of the most impressive things about Detroit, Colin, is those guys stood there on day one and they said they were going to build something, and they built exactly what they said they were going to build. I think that's what Chicago needs more than they need just some guy who's going to develop one player on the roster.
So we get into this discussion during the break. I'm like, if I'm Pittsburgh, and I mean, some of it is Russell Wilson historically doesn't get hurt. You got these TJ Watt players that you got to chase the ring when you have them, these historically great players. And I think Russell's a free agent after the season. What's wrong with signing him to a 3-year deal at $30 million large? Is that crazy? Because I'm watching him play. He's highly effective. Yeah. Well, you can't let Russell Wilson go, can you?
Well, their policy is not to sign guys in season. And that's a long-standing policy. And you can say it's stupid and they should make an exception, and maybe they should. But they just haven't done it. And I do think, like, just having talked to people there, they want the full body of work, right? Like, so they want the body of work, what it looks like in the regular season, what it looks like in the postseason, how Justin Fields is going to figure into all of this, because remember, he's a free agent too. I just think they want the full body of work. And, part of it too is, like, over time, teams are going to build up some more tape on how Arthur Smith is deploying Russell Wilson. So where's your counterpunch? There are all sorts of things that play into that. So I think they're comfortable with where they're at right now. They'd still love for Fields to have, a future with the franchise as well. But I think you're right. Like, you could look at Russell Wilson now and how he's married up with what Arthur Smith is doing with him on offense and say, this could be an effective bridge where for the next year or two, like, he can get us to whoever our long-term guy is going to be. I just don't think it's going to happen in season because they've never done it that way.
Let me ask one more question. Niners. I mean, I'm telling you, watching Purdy against Josh Allen in the snow, I mean, it was Mac Jones and Josh Allen. It was nothing special. You're sure they're giving Purdy the bag?
Yeah, I think so. I can tell you, like, people there flat out told me that that's the plan and that they've budgeted for that and that they've been preparing to do that. I don't know where negotiations are going to go. And we know the Niners have had some protracted negotiations over the last few years, right? So they had one with Nick Bosa. They had one with Brandon Ayuk. They had one with Deebo Samuel. A couple of those got to the point where, the idea of making a trade was on the table. So, they've fought through these things in the past. Obviously, a quarterback is a little different because you got to know who your starting quarterback is going to be in March. And so, I think for the Niners, it's going to be about sitting down and starting the process of this early. The last time they were in a situation like this with Jimmy Garoppolo, they got that deal done, if you remember, in January. So I'd expect that they're going to be aggressive in trying to pursue a deal with Brock Purdy, whether their season ends at the end of the regular season or at some point in the playoffs. And then you see where it goes. The one thing that does kind of make it interesting, though, Colin, if you do want to stir the pot a little on this, is that Sam Darnold's had a great year. He was in their system. He'll be a free agent.
Yeah.
And then Kirk Cousins' contract is tradable. So right there, you have two guys who are legitimate starting quarterbacks in the league this year.
Yeah.
Where you could look at them and say, experience in Kyle Shanahan's system, either of those guys could work. Yeah. So if you're looking for a leverage point that the Niners have with Brock Purdy, where they could say, take our offer at 40, take our offer at 35, or else we'll go get this guy for that price. That certainly could exist as an element in the negotiation.
Good stuff. Albert Breer. Let's see that sad picture, because I've never seen Albert sad. He's such a joyful human being. They
didn't get any happy pictures of me. See, this is the picture. This is the picture that I get to send to my buddies now. See my buddy Ron there on my right, my buddy Reagan. Mick is over Reagan's shoulder. Schrock. Trigno's not there for some reason. But yeah, this is the picture that I got to send to my buddies now. I kind of look like a congressman, though, don't I?
You look like a senator who just got beat in the midterms or something. I don't know. It's just it looks like you hang around a bunch of tough guys. I would look like you had some fun in college. That's what it looks like to me.
Oh, absolutely. We definitely did.
All right. Good seeing you, buddy. Don't worry. You're going to be fine. Just got to get another star quarterback. You're going to be fine.
Hey, natty or bust. Natty or bust now. That's it.
I still like you in the championship. You were Oregon against Texas. There you go. Albert,
Let's go. Let's go, Colin.
Albert Breer. Hi, everybody. It's me, Uncle Colin. Subscribe here to get the latest from the herd, including exclusive behind-the-scenes videos and more, wherever you may be, however you may be watching. Thanks again for making us part of your day.